I am going to be administering to you a oral speech and linguistics exam. Okay, so what does that mean? That means we are going to be testing your oral and linguistic skills, your ability to recognize and name objects, activities, occupations, etc. These are just basic English language skills, okay? This is not a graded test. This is just to kind of get a gauge of where your skills are landing, okay? So let me walk you through how this is going to look, just so you are clear before we begin. I have a deck of 300 photo cue cards, okay? Now if you're thinking, these kind of have a vintage feel and look to them, maybe even odor, you would be correct. We've been using these exact same cards since the beginning of time, so they may be a little bit outdated in their photos of objects. You'll see what I mean once we get started, but it shouldn't pose too much of an issue, okay? You're still going to be able to recognize what the picture is trying to convey, ideally. We are working on getting an updated set of these cue cards, but, only so much in the budget. So, we have 300 photo cue cards. This one does not serve as a good example because there's no photo, so why don't I just go ahead and pull up the first card. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's just a simple, clear photo of an object. Now, we're going to be starting with the household objects portion of the deck, hence this. What would you call this? A camera. Perfect. Okay, so it'll just be very simple, basic questions like that. Let me just use this as an example of some different kinds of questions, okay? So you already answered, we would call this a camera. What is the purpose of a camera? Very good. Okay, to take photos. What letter does camera start with? Very good. And what is another name for a camera? See, now that is higher level thinking that we are testing. If you cannot think of a synonym, no worries. I'll give you a couple seconds to think. And if you cannot think of another name that someone might use to refer to a camera, we're talking slang or just, anything that you can think of that you might use to call this. Okay, very good. So that's just a little example, okay? And like I said, there are many, many of these, so if you are struggling on one, don't worry, we can always just move on to the next one. So I'm going to grab my deck here. As you can see, this is just the household objects portion of the deck. We won't be going through all of these today, just enough until I get a really good feel for what level we're sitting at in terms of your linguistic skills. Okay, perfect. So let's start. Our first card. Please tell me, what would you call this object? Very good. What letter does that start with? Very good. And what is the function of this object? Perfect. Okay, just starting off simple. See, this is very easy. Moving on. Our next card. What is this object on the card? Very good. This is a comb. Now, an additional question for this card. Can you please tell me one other word you would associate with a comb? Perfect, perfect. Yeah, we get brush, we get hair, we get style, all sorts of things. Okay, next. What would you call this? Amazing. Okay, and what do the letters at the top of the calendar represent? Excellent. Okay. Now, the numbers 1 to 29, in this case, what do those numbers represent? Fantastic. The days of the month. Okay, and what is a calendar used for? Perfect. Moving on. What would you call this item? Okay, and please name one use for this item. Fantastic. Now I want you to think of 3 words you might associate with this object. Fantastic. Excellent job. Okay, moving on. What would you call this? Excellent. Now, what is a basket made of? It can be made of many different things, but if you'll just name one for me, that would be great. Okay, perfect. That's all for that. Now, what would you call, and this is a perfect example of how these are a bit outdated, so if you need to skip this one, no worries at all. What would you call this? Perfect. And what is the function of this object? Perfect. What letter does it start with? Amazing. And what letter does it end with? Perfect. Okay. Next. What do you call this object? All right. Now, can you name one other object that you would associate with this object? Perfect. Now, I want you to use one word to describe the toothbrush. Excellent. And what color is the toothbrush? Fantastic. Moving on. Please name this object. Fantastic. And what is this object used for? Cutting. And what does the word cut start with? What letter? Fantastic. What is another object you associate with scissors? Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Please name this object. Very good. It's a book. Now, what do you do with a book? Fantastic. Now, I want you to think of one other object you might associate with a book. Great. Perfect. Okay. Moving on. What would you call the item in this photo? Perfect. Good job. Now, what do you use a deck of cards for? Excellent. Good job. And how many cards are in a deck? Okay, perfect. I know that one was a little bit different than the other questions we've asked so far. Okay. Please name this object for me. Perfect. And what do you use this object for? Amazing. Very good. Please name the object on this card. And please name one object you would associate with a hammer. Perfect. Please use one word to describe the hammer. Perfect. Alright, please name this object for me. Perfect. And what is it used for? Okay. And in what part of the house would you find this object? Okay, perfect. And what letter does it start with? Amazing. What do you call this item here in the photo? Okay, perfect. What is another name for this object? Fantastic. What is this object used for? Excellent, excellent. Please name the object in the photo. Okay, amazing. Now, what is this object used for? Very good. Locking and unlocking. Now, can you please name a few things that keys can lock and unlock? Perfect. And what color are the keys depicted in this photo? Fantastic. All right, moving on. What would you call this object? Perfect. Now tell me, is this object soft or hard? Fantastic. And where would one typically find this in a household? Perfect. Please name the object in this photo. Perfect. And what is this used for? Perfect. And in what room would one typically find this? What room of the house? Fantastic. And what color is it in the photo? Great. Moving on. Please name the objects depicted in this photo. Very good. Okay, please use one word to describe a needle. Fantastic. And please use one word to describe thread. Perfect. And what is this used for? Excellent. All right, moving on. What would one call this object? Excellent. And what is it used for? Good. It's to heat water or make tea. Perfect. And what color is the tea kettle? Excellent. And can you please think of one other word that someone might call this? Fantastic. All right. For the next segment of the household objects, I'm going to show you two cards, okay? Two cards at a time, and ask you some questions about their relation to one another, okay? Perfect. So the first card in this set is this. Give you a moment to look at that. Okay, and this is the second card. Tell me, would one typically see these two objects in the same room? Perfect. Do these two objects serve a similar function? Okay, that's interesting. Please elaborate. Okay, excellent. See, with these types of questions, they can be interpreted in different ways. For example, you could say, yes, these are used the same for similar purposes. You turn off the lamp to relax, you lay down on a pillow to relax. Linguistics, language is fluid. So these can really be interpreted in any way, just as long as you give me a little explanation, okay? There's no wrong answers. Okay, moving on. The next set of objects. Okay, I want you to name these objects. Okay, what is one object similar to a pencil? Okay, and what is one object similar to a nail? Excellent. Now tell me, what do these two objects have in common? There's many right answers to this. Very good. Okay, and in these photos, which of which kind of object are there more of? Are there more pencils or are there more nails? Excellent. And which of these two objects starts with a P? Perfect. And which of these two objects could be described as a writing utensil? Excellent. Okay. Here's the next set of cards. Alright, I want you to name both of these objects, please. Okay, very good. Right, now, please tell me one way that these two things might be associated. Now, this could be a very abstract answer. I just want you to do your best, okay? Very nicely done. Okay. Now, which one of these objects would you be more likely to utilize outside? Okay. And which of these two objects starts with a vowel? Fantastic. All right, as you can tell, we're starting to get slightly more complicated as we move through this test, okay? So if you need a break at any time, just let me know. Okay. The next set of cards. Alright, can you please name these two objects? Perfect. And which of these two objects requires batteries? Fantastic. Now, can you please name one way that these two objects are similar? Okay, and now one way they are different. Perfect. Moving on. Okay, I'll let you get a good look at that. The photo's a bit faded. I also think I have it upside down. Here's one object, and here's the next. I want you to name one way in which these two objects are similar. Excellent. Which of these two objects starts with a vowel? Perfect. Now, of these two objects, which one is larger? Okay, excellent. And here's our final set of household objects. The first card. And the second. Okay, please name these two objects. Perfect. Okay, now please come up with one other name for this object. Okay, awesome. Again, that can just be slang, colloquialisms, whatever. Anything works. I just want to hear your interpretation of things. Okay. Now, are these two objects used for the same function? Okay. Now, which of these two objects serves as a catalyst for verbal communication? Okay. Perfect. Now, which of these two objects starts with an M? Fantastic. And now, can you name one way in which these two objects are similar? Perfect. Fantastic job. And that concludes the household objects portion of this test. Okay. Now, give me one moment as I prepare the next section. The next segment of this exam will be dealing with actions and activities. Okay, a bit more complicated of a concept to depict in a photo, but it also means that your answers are even more open to interpretation. So let me just do an example first. Okay, in this first card, you might say this man is talking. You might say this man is speaking on the phone. You might say this man is making a phone call. Okay, so those are the types of things we're looking for. Obviously, there are cheat answers to this. You could say he's breathing, he's living. And, you know, when we work with children, we hear a lot of answers like that, but try to avoid anything along those lines. But as I said, yeah, there are multiple right answers for most of these cards in this section of the testing. Okay, so that's just an example. This also allows us more room to ask more detailed questions, okay? Okay. What is the woman in this photo doing? Okay, perfect. And if this woman's occupation was to perform this action, what might she be called? Okay, and what is the tool or instrument she is using to perform this action? Perfect. Moving on. What activity is taking place in the photo? Okay, and what time of year would one typically find oneself performing this action most frequently? Fantastic. Moving on. What is the activity being depicted in this photo? Excellent. Okay, and would the depicted action be considered a hobby? Okay, no. What would you call it then, aside from just washing the dishes? Perfect. A chore, housework, cleaning. Okay. And in which room of the house does one usually perform this action? Excellent. The kitchen. Moving on. Okay. Please describe the action taking place in this photo. Okay. What is one other way you could describe what the man is doing? Okay, yeah. Basking, sunbathing, relaxing, tanning. These are all different answers we might get for this. Okay. Is this an activity that is taking place indoors or outdoors? Perfect. And what season is this activity most often associated with? Perfect. Obviously, that's different based on where you are located, so we will take that into consideration. Okay. What is the activity taking place in this photo? Okay. Can you name one other word to describe this? Okay. Now, is this an action or activity that can be performed indoors and outdoors, or just one? Perfect, both. Okay. And would you consider performing this action to be a hobby? Okay, very good. What is the man doing in this photo? Okay, and can you think of one other word or phrase to describe the activity taking place? Perfect. Now, where, indoors or outdoors, is the man partaking in this activity? Perfect. And would you consider this activity to be a leisure activity? Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, please describe what is occurring in this photo. Okay, please describe what is occurring in the above photo. Okay, very good. And is this a leisurely activity? Okay, okay. And please name the object or instrument being used to perform this activity. Okay. Now, please name one reason one might find themselves needing to type. Perfect. Please describe the activity taking place in this photo. Okay. And would you describe this action as a chore? Okay, so would you describe it as a leisurely activity? Okay. Would you consider this activity to be a hobby? Okay. Okay, good. And in what room of a household would this activity most often occur? Okay, there is obviously many answers, but where is it most associated with? Perfect. Okay, next, please describe the activity occurring in this photo. Amazing. Okay, now can you come up with one other way to describe what is happening here? Okay, excellent. And now here's a challenge. Please describe another way you could describe this activity. Okay, yeah, so some typical answers we'll hear is, playing guitar, playing an instrument, making music, jamming, things like that. Okay, now, would you consider this activity to be called a hobby? Excellent. Okay. Please describe what is occurring in this photo. What activity or action? Okay. Would you consider this to be a leisurely activity? Okay. Would you define it as a hobby? Okay. And how often does one find oneself needing to perform this action? Is this a daily occurrence? Yes or no? Excellent, excellent. And name one scenario in which one might need to change a tire. Okay, perfect. Alright, please describe the activity that is taking place here in this photo. Excellent, riding a bike. Okay, I want you to come up with 3 reasons why one might ride a bike. Perfect. Okay, and is riding a bike typically an indoor or outdoor activity? Okay, and would you describe a bicycle as a vehicle? Excellent. Now, what would one call this woman if she rode bicycles as a career? Excellent. A cyclist would be one answer, but you could also say, she's a paper girl or something like that. A bicycle delivery woman. All right, please describe the action that is occurring in this photo. What is the man doing? Okay, very good. Now please describe it in a different way. Okay, now can you come up with one more way to describe what is happening in this photo? Now, would you describe the action that this man is performing as a hobby or as something functional? Very good. Yeah, that's pretty subjective, but the most common answer we'll get is that it's a functional activity. You know, just going somewhere. Okay, now please describe for me the action taking place in this photo. Okay, and what purpose does brushing one's teeth serve? Okay, and would you consider brushing your teeth a hobby or a functional activity? Functional. Okay, very good. And please name 2 objects required to perform this activity. Very good. Most commonly we hear toothbrush and toothpaste, but we also hear water, sink, hand even though I don't know if I'd call that an object. Okay. What would you call the activity taking place in this photo? Very good. Can you come up with one other phrase to describe what is happening here? Okay, now please tell me, is this an activity that can be made into a career? Can you do this professionally? Very good. Okay, moving on. Please describe the action taking place in this photo. Okay. Alright, and in what room of the household does this action usually take place? Okay. Please name 3 objects one might use to perform this action. Okay. Is this action something someone can do professionally? Okay, perfect. Now, is this activity something that is performed daily or every once in a while? Okay, very nice. Okay, and our final cue card for this portion of the testing. Please describe the action being performed in this photo. Okay. Can you come up with 2 other ways to describe what the woman is doing in this photo? Okay. And where does one typically perform this action? Okay, very good. And is this something that can be done professionally? Fantastic. Now, last question. Is this an action that is typically performed daily or every once in a while? Excellent. Well, you have done so well on this test, okay? So, we may have you come back in for a second set of testing. This is the rest of the deck that we did not complete today, but I do not want to hold you captive here too much longer. And I mean, look, even more. Here is the totality of the deck we did not use in your exam today. So, if you're comfortable with it, we may have you come back for a second round of testing, but I think we have all we need from you today. So, thank you so much for coming in and being so cooperative, and we will call you with your results and whether or not we need you to come back in for a second testing session within the week. Okay? Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to my second tier members for supporting the channel. It is very inexpensive if you would like some extra content from me. become a member. Click that join button. It doesn't work on iOS for some reason, at least not yet, so you may have to do it on desktop, but it's very inexpensive. But you know it's even more inexpensive. You can get it for free. Free. F-R-E-E 99. Free 99 is hitting that subscribe button and hanging out with me more often, watching my videos.